Good afternoon. Now I welcome you all to this presentation on coastal and river protection with geosynthetics. Now this presentation will be in three parts. That's what I try to do. And depending on the time and availability, we will see whether we can cover landfill also later. Now, the application area for geosynthetics in coastal river protection is river draining protection and coastal protection, which includes ports and harbors. River training, the word we use is train, because you must have seen the river as it approaches the coast or the sea starts meandering, and that is where a lot of problems happen. So we have to train at this stage, we have to train the river to flow straight, not to meander. So that's why it is called river train. Basically, what is the issue? In coastal and river protection, the problem is one of erosion. Bank erosion, bed erosion. The one which causes the bank erosion and bed erosion is the velocity of the water, that is, or the current. In the case of sea, what is that? The disturbing force is the waves. So that is an energy in the form of either current or in the form of waves. And this energy has to be dissipated. That is what is required to prevent erosion. Of course, erosion is such a simple phenomena. Even by rainwater, you can see high embankments. There, the water picks up the smallest particle and erosion takes place. That is due to erosion due to runoff. But here, we are going to concentrate more on the erosion due to current and wave. That is in river and in coastal case. Now, to make this protection, what we would require, it is simple. Conceptually, if you look at it, you require basically a filter. Why a filter? The water must be able to flow in and out of from the river or from the sea into the soil. There is always a bank, there is always a shore. The water should be able to flow in and out. But during the moment of flow of in and out, it should not disturb the soil particles or take it away from that. That means erosion is prevented. So, to achieve this, basically, first we require a filter. Then, the filter, any filter, which is a cloth or even your filter paper kind of a thing which you use in your laboratories, cannot stand by itself when a force is applied or sucking. So, it has to be kept in position. So, you require an armor. The armor has dual function to keep it in position and at the same time to dissipate, as I said, the disturbing forces, the current and wave. To dissipate the energy, we require an armor. Armor, there are two components. One is laid over the slope, the other is laid at the bottom, which is called toe. The toe and the slope portion has to be interconnected, and toe is a very critical part. It's called different names in different places, but toe is a must. If there is no toe, the entire armor could slide and go in sink. And toe is also essential, and it is part of the cover protection. I think you all know what is cover. Okay. Now, let us see. If you have got a filter, if you have got an armor, then what could be used for that? It is not before the advent of geosynthetic itself, the erosion control measures have been taken. So there have been filters, there have been armors. Before the advent of geosynthetic, the filter was a graded filter made of aggregates. The armor was tetra parts, big stones, concrete blocks, etc. They were used as armors. So, the armor provides the basic protection against wave and current. That is, to recap, the filter supports the armor, prevents the washing out of the fine, and toe protection. I think it must be very clear here. These are the basic concepts. Now, the filter. There are many kinds of filter available. There are two kinds. One is woven textile. And then there is a variety of woven textiles, which are like a woven monofilament, multi-filament, and tape fabric. And this is for just information. Let us not spend too much of time on this like this. Then there are non-wovens are also available. Basically, these materials are polymer materials extruded as a yarn, then made as a fine element, extruded as a fine thing, then it is made into a yarn, twisted, and then it is put on this, then in a weaving machine, they are put there, and like any cloth, they are woven. Because of the process in which they are made is a weaving process, they are called woven textile. Okay? And this is how a very large width, that is maximum 5 meter width, fabrics are made. The larger the weight, lesser is the number of joints. Because when you are covering a 100-meter shore length, probably you have to use 20 or 21 pieces of this 5 meter width. Okay, so there will be a number of joints. If you use a 1 meter, the joint will be more. More the number of joints, it is a weakness. So generally a larger width of the size, at least 5 meters is preferred. Okay, and this is I'm not taking you to a factory, I'm giving you a view of the factory where these products, woven textiles, are made. Similarly, non-woven textiles are also made. I have not got, I think you must have, in the course of the lecture, they must have shown you how a non-woven textile is also made. It is the fibers are corded together by mechanical bonding, a process called needle punch. That is called needle punch non-woven textile. Okay? Generally in sandy strata, woven textile is preferred. It's a general some rule. So there is nothing specific. You have to always look at the size, look at the apparent opening size of the textile, the gradation curve, and what is the finest particle, and then you have to decide on the textile for a filter. So there is a non-woven textile is also there. So woven, non-woven textile, both are used as a filter. This is against the conventional system of graded filter, which is a sand filter, graded filter. Okay, graded filter is very difficult to maintain, especially the quality control is difficult. So the geosynthetic filter has got several advantages that we will see later. Then the armor. Originally, conventionally, they were using armor like tetrapods, big stones, cement blocks, etc. Now, what we use in geosynthetics is called the gabions, which are sausages. Small stones can be held in a sausage and they could form a unit and they could be tied to each other and monolithically they can cover the entire area. This could be made of polymer, then it is called a polymer rope gabion. Could be of steel, which is called galvanized PVC coated steel, then it is called steel gabion. Or if you don't get the stones in those areas, the locally available soil material is put in textile bags and they are put in certain arrangement to take care of the order arrangement. They are called geotextile bags. If they are in the form of a tube, they are called geotextile tube. So we will see all about this. First, before that, as I said, you have to understand that why a geosynthetic system is considered to be superior to the conventional method. Before the advent of geosynthetic, these conventional materials are used. The design philosophy, everything is in basic terms is exactly same as the conventional thing. Only there is a material substitution is taking place. So if you look at the granular filter, the quality control is very difficult. Here you get a assured quality. The insulation is difficult. Here it is continuity is there and insulation is simple. We always say to unroll a geotextile, you require nothing but a kick. It unrolls itself. So it is simple. Discontinuities and contamination can take place. Here concerns granular material, larger volume is required, requires only a well prepared surface. Intimate contact with the surface is required. Here also requires a surface preparation prepared to laying. Okay, right. Then the filter criteria. When I said the filter, it is very simple to say use a filter. It should have some fundamental principal characteristics. One is called soil retention, which is also called tightness. It should have a permeability, that is, it should have enough flow capacity, cross permeability. We talk about cross permeability, that is, across the textile. There are two kinds of permeability. One is cross permeability, other is in plane permeability. Now let us, for this instance, consider only the cross permeability. That is, if you are laying a textile, the filter across the over the slope, the water from the soil should be able to flow into the river portion or the sea portion. The water from the seaside should be able to freely enter the soil bank or shore portion. Okay, for that it requires a permeability and clogging resistance. If there are particles, it can go and block the holes in a woven or non-woven textile, then it can be clogging, binding, blocking. There are three kinds of obstruction. Clogging is something which goes and clog. Binding is, it is like something is smeared on the surface, so the holes are blocked. Blocking is like a large thing goes in and gets blocked inside. So these could be three kinds. So to do that, because it is handled in a site overseas, we are using stone, we should have to do some test for this. They require survivability criteria, durability criteria. I think this must have been all been covered in later, so I won't do it. But you should understand they have a survivability criteria and durability criteria. Durability criteria is essential because you should give a long-standing life. Once the project is completed, the material should survive. Unless the material survives, the project doesn't exist. The system doesn't work. The survivability is applicable only during the initial stage of installation and other things. You should not get punctured, you should not get torn. All these things indicate the survivability criteria. Then, what is the filter criteria? I have put O95 should be less than E or E alpha times dW. What alpha is a factor which is generally 0.5 to 5, a constant, and alpha is a, that is that, and O95 is the apparent opening size, and dW is the representative soil particle size. D90 for unidirectional flow and D15 for cyclic flow. I hope you understand. In a flow condition, anywhere you know Reynolds number, there could be a laminar flow, there could be a turbulent flow. Okay, so there is cyclic flow, unidirectional and cyclic flow. O95, what is O95? The apparent opening size. The apparent opening size. That is, if I got a soil, if I got a filter, that is 95% of the fines in the soil will be prevented from passing through this. That is O95. And this O95 should be less than alpha dW. Okay. So, but generally when we use the filter criteria, we allow even 80% of the soils escaping. But you should not block. When it comes to that later, I may have to explain, or they must have explained in subgrade in the road. What is called soil filter theory is also there. Once you use a textile, over a period of a soil filter also develops at the backside. So that enhances the filtration capacity of the textile. Okay. Then there are survivability, there are damages, which I say in the laboratory we do lots of Muhlenberg test and puncture resistance, other things. So to ensure the survivability criteria. So put all together, if you take a material, there are a number of tests which are specified by ASTM and ISO, and these has to be performed to check the suitability of the filter. So survivability, permeability, durability, all has to be checked up. Then With these textiles, depending on the conditions and various other factors, we can make bags or containers of various shapes. What is essential is when you make the bag or the container, you have to decide pre-hand how you are going to use it at the site, how you are going to handle it at the site. If the bag becomes too much, then a single person cannot carry. Then you have to provide loop. If you are going to handle it manually, you can also handle it mechanically, that is with the crane, with the grabs which are soft rubber. They can pick it up so the textile is not damaged. They can place it in position. So this is all decided on the methodology of installation and the site conditions. Okay. So generally these bags could be of length 5 meter to 3 meter. Width it can vary and the height also can vary. Next, this is a gabion. This is a metallic gabion. It's a box, double twisted, galvanized, zinc or PVC coated gabion. This is used as a container. Then we have also which is invented. Suppose I say you have to use it as a filter in an underwater condition. Polymer materials are specific gravity or a density lesser than water. So it floats on the water. So under these circumstances, what we use two textiles, sandwiching a sand layer, and by a special methodology, we can lay it underwater straight, and that has got sulfite, it can cover a larger area. These materials are called sand matter. Okay? Then, the textile could also be fabricated in the form of a tube, a circular tube, which, when filled with the fill material or the sand material, takes an elliptical shape, and this is called tube. Generally, in terms of D, 3 meter is the dia. Then, after insulation, it will take approximately 1.4 times the D, as you have seen in the figure. That will be the total width at the top, and the bottom width will be 0.9 times D, and the height will be 0.6 times C. That is, with a 3 meter tube, you can get an elliptical shape of 1.8 meter height. Okay? Then, all these small bags, big bags, the polymer gabions, the textile, then over that gabion, a geotextile tube with a polymer rope conforming it. All these are thrown in sequence. These are the various materials, some of them which are used in coastal and river protection work. Okay? Now, if you take it as a system, the conventional system versus geosynthetic system. We have seen the product, we have seen the filter thing, but if you look at it as a system, what is a masonry or a concrete or a tetrapod structure is rigid in nature, whereas a geosynthetic structure is flexible in nature. The other one, the masonry structure is non-porous, whereas the geosynthetic is porous. Whether it's armor or the textile, it is porous. The materials brought from far away, here, the locally available material can be used. It's a rock or sand, depending on what is available. So, in virtue of all this, the fuel cost is hiking up. You have to bring from far off place, and the transportation cost is always less in terms of geosynthetic material because they come in rolls. Even if they are fabricated tubes or mattresses or bags in lay flat conditions, they are very lightweight. They can accommodate, a truck can accommodate a lot of these materials. The transportation, the cost is going to be cheaper in terms of transportation, the material cost, and also the insulation cost. That is, but you have to work it out case to case basis. That's always you remember. Now, using this gabion and filter for a river protection, a number of structures. Now I will show you. These are all just the views and opinion. In some case where there is a deep cut You have to go for a gabion like that, what you see in the left top corner, or you can go in a shadow slope, then you have to use it as you have. You see always there is a toe, there's a filter, there's an arbor. Can be used in dams, in spillways. It can be used as energy dissipator. In fact, we have used it also as an energy dissipator in Surat. So all these things, what I am showing is several examples, which is left to one's imagination. Wherever you have been using stones or an armor, you can replace it by the system of geosynthetic, that is textile and armor. Okay, these are some of the views. I got confused. Now, so talking about the whole system, we talked about the products, we talked about the advantages of geosynthetic product versus the conventional product, we talked about the system. Then to highlight the system's advantages, as I said, these polymer material, whether it is a gabion textile or it is a geotextile tube or anything, they are all flexible material. The gabion is basically a flexible. If you compare to a rigid stone kind of a thing, a small stone put in a gabion, it is connected to one another. This whole thing is flexible. That is, even if there is a settlement in somewhere, this settlement can take without breaking up. Whereas it will not be the case in the case of an individual stone dumped over a place. If there is, the whole thing gets disturbed. It can adapt to the even irregular surface, accommodate differential settlement, can accommodate movement. So this flexibility is the unique advantage of the gabion or the system. Now smaller stones can be used. I don't want to spend much time, but I want to give you, because later on as we proceed the next few slides, we are gesturing the design concepts or the methodology of doing a simple design. When you use a big stone, you have to use for a current or wave, the energy has to be dissipated. It has to withstand the current force or the wave force. It will be subjected to uplift. If the weight is not self-sufficient or more than to resist the force, it could get lifted and carried away, either by current or wave. So we require bigger stone. But the bigger stone has got a disadvantage. To bringing it to the site or handling its site is become, you require mechanical beings. Human beings, simple manpower cannot handle it. Whereas, if you can think of a sausage as or the gabion, where small stones could be put in, packed, and still a bigger, equal and armor kind of a thing can be created. Now let us see. Yeah, 1 meter by 1 meter by 1 meter gabion, whether it's a polymer or metal, filled with stones of appropriate size and thickness. Let's not discuss about it now. Will weigh, taking for a porosity on a void ratio of 40%, will weigh about 1.1 cubic meter of a gabion will weigh 1.5 tons. As simple as that. So you get a huge thing, but it can be created by small stones. You understand that? And the porosity is a huge advantage. For energy dissipation, you require the surface. Because of the void, the surface area available in a 1 by 1 by 1 gabion box with 40% void, the surface area available for dissipation of energy is much higher than compared to a very big stone of 1 cubic meter, which will have a much lesser surface area because it is not porous. Only the outer perimeter surface area is available. You have to understand that. So that is how the gabion stand much better than the conventional tetrapod or other material. Okay? And individual gabion units can be tied together. So they form a monolithic system. Very long coast, even there is a concentrated stress on one package area, let us say 50 meter, 20 meter, because they are all integrated and connected together, the entire force can be transmitted to the entire stretch. So that's a great advantage. Otherwise, in the case of conventional system, the stress is localized. It is not in a position because their interconnectivity is purely local, which is very poor. So it cannot be transferred to the entire area. That's why this performs much better. And they are permeable structure. And I have already discussed a lot about this, so I don't want to dwell upon this. Longevity, we have already talked about durability. Now, there's always a question, the durability of the material and durability of the system. It is always asked, how long it will last? What is the life of the structure? Definitely, these are important questions to be answered. But in the case of geosynthetic, even though it is 30, 35 years old, even in our own country, since the time I entered the field, still these questions are always asked, what is the longevity? But we can explain it in a scientifically. There are two things. There are tests which, when conducted, gives the life of the materials used. That is number one. The other is actual performance of the structures in the field. How long they have performed. To our best knowledge, I have got a lot of river protection work and coastal works done. If I could remember correctly, if my memory is correct, the first seashore structure for protection using the gabion and filter was constructed in Gujarat in Valsad district. It's a place called Tita in the Swaminarayan Mandir. In front of Swaminarayan Mandir, a structure was constructed as approved by CWPR and other agencies. And it's a deposit work, and it was done. It was done in 2000 and 2002. And to my last visit to the site was around 2016 or 2017. So about 16, 17 years with small little maintenance, they have performed very well. So that is what I have got the information. So if you talk about other structures like that, we have got in the history of 35 years, we have got 20, 25 years case study. That is the Indian experience. Similarly, if you look at abroad also, there have been cases, you must be knowing the geotextile geotubes have been used on the Dubai, the artificial islands and other things where they are tested, these materials have been used. So they have got and more experience and information we are getting. Scientifically, we should say they have got longevity, but they also require such an amount of maintenance during the service period. This has to be monitored and this maintenance has to be done. This you should always remember. Now, the gabions, steel gabions, how they are manufactured? They can be produced out of a steel rod which is drawn into a wire, and these wires are double twisted to form sheets, metal sheets are double twisted, and these are made into boxes. So like this, the sheets are made, they have got a hexagonal shape. Here we have a double twist. This is drawn from a solid bar. And there are various things like I don't want to give the sizes, could be generally 10 by 12 is the size of the mesh, or 8 by 10. Okay, I think 6 by 8 is also used, and depending on as the size of the mesh becomes smaller, they also use thinner wires, and then you use a thicker wire. So like that they use. So 2.7 galvanized per PVC and 2.7 with the PVC coating will be 3.7 will be the thickness in mm. Okay. Then there is a salvage wire which is used to make the box, and lacing wire. These are there. Okay, these are details are available. I am not going to do that. Any manufacturer who supplies the gabion will be providing these details. So how is this? Is what you see is the machine, gabion knitting machine. I don't know whether it is very clear. Okay. See, now the sheets are produced. They are coming out of the machine. Now, initially, the wire is in a speed which is a zinc coated, that is a galvanized wire is readily available from the market also. They are in a plant coated with PVC. That's what you see. Then these spools are made into box like that. The sheets are made into box, and these boxes are compressed in a press, so it will come to you in a lay flat condition. In a small thing, you can open it or create a bag. Against this, there are handmade chain links and gabions are also available, but there are welded wire gabions are also available. If you can make a big separate lecture on the comparison of these materials, but I would say so far in the country, the machine twisted gabions, zinc and PVC coated metal gabions have been used in a number of projects because of various advantages. So also the polymer rope gabions also have been used. This is against the welded mesh gabion and hand twisted gabion which corrodes much faster. Okay, so that much. Now design consideration for river bank protection. You know there is a gabion, there is a textile bag, the fill material is here sand, there it is armor stone, there is a filter. But now, what is the size of the stone? How it is decided? How it is to be placed? All these questions are there. Is there any guidance available? Yes. A design of revetment, generally we call it revetment, is as per IS 14262. It's a couple of slides. I will briefly explain the concept and methodology. A dry revetment, stone is used in revetment, that is just a tool, dry stone packing. You can also see it as pitching done in dry embankment. Even some river banks you must have seen dry stone pitching. But when you put once the water comes, the dry stone weight, that is the submerged weight of water, that is only resisting. There will be uplift force. The weight of the stone in a horizontal bed has to be first decided if you put it in a horizontal. This is the formula where S is the V is the velocity, S is the specific gravity. Remember, there is a formula available for this. You can use it for a horizontal bed. But in all our cases, in river bank, okay, we have to use it in a slope. Generally, the stones, we use the granite stones because sandstones don't give you much longevity. The specific gravity is generally on the order of 2000 to 3000 kg per meter cube. Or you can say the density is 2.3 to 2.5, 2.8. That will be the range of the dry density of the stones which will be generally selected in use. They are used in the slope because a bank is always a slope. Maybe the slope geometry may be different in different conditions, but it is slope. When you place a stone in the slope and you resolve the weight into two components, one is normal to the embankment, other is sliding along the embankment. In the case of uplift force, the one against normal to the thing only comes into act. Okay, you remember that. So this is depending on the depending on the steepness of the slope or the angle of the slope with the horizontal. Okay, let us call it theta. So there has to be a correction to the weight of the stone when you use it in a slope. That is given by this formula. Okay. Then with that formula applied, with the K value applied, you get the weight of the stone when you place it in a slope. Okay. Then you got it. In a bank, the bank has to be stable. If you are going to place a material, armor, other things, which are the protection, the bank slope has to be stable by itself. If it is not, that you have to check it up, the stability of the slope. That's what we say. Whenever we do a slope protection work by erosion control prevention by vegetation application, like that is another method, erosion control by man-made embankment by vegetation. When we do that, we say the first thing is we have to check whether the embankment of the slope is stable. Here also we have to check the river bank embankment is stable by itself, structurally stable. If it is not stable, we have got various methods like slip circle, other thing. You can find the stability depending on the height and angle and other thing. If it is not, you have to make it stable. For example, I can give you just one example. We did a work years long back at the Surat, that is upstream and downstream of Singamburi Weir. There, at both the stretches, the slopes were damaged by a very serious previous flood. So we have to make the slope stable. We use horizontally woven textiles. We use woven textile in the slope in a wraparound fashion to create a stable slope, and over that we use the armor and filter. That I will show you later. So the slope has to be stable by itself. Generally, the thumb rule is for normal bank protection, the slope is 2 horizontal to 1 vertical is considered to be stable. But some cases we may have a deep cut. You may not have a slope at all. This I have shown in the earlier sketches which I have shown to start with. In those cases, the arrangement of gabion will not be laid along. It has to be in a different form. That also we will see as we proceed. Okay? Then, size of the slope. What is the size of the slope we are going to use on the slope? First, there is a formula. ds is obtained. Minimum dimension of the stone will not be less than, that is the size of the stone. Where S is the specific gravity, we have got already the W, which is corrected for the slope. From that, the ds can be calculated using this. Then, once you have the size of the stone, what is the thickness of the stone? Thickness. The minimum thickness of the stone, again you have got specific gravity, the velocity, and then the G is of course the gravitational force. With that, the thickness of the stone is considered. But even you arrive at the thickness of the stone, there is a thumb rule which says in slopes we have to use at least what we calculate twice the thickness we have to use in the slope for protection. That's a factor of safety. You got it. You arrive at the thickness, at least you have to use twice that thickness you have to use. Okay? So here all those factors is explained and I have also told you. Okay? Then, this is all dry stone pitching. So far we are talking W, horizontal, then in the slope, and what is that? Then thickness, what is the thing? All this. But in practical cases where the velocity in the geosynthetic system, where the velocity is very high, we cannot use a conventional stone because very big and very large. So we have to make it up with smaller stone in a sausage in a gabion box. So when you use the smaller stones in a gabion box, what will happen? The difference between a single dry stone and a gabion stone is the porosity is involved. The void ratio is involved, which is around of the order of 35% to 40%. Okay? Here in this formula, there is a small mistake. Please note. D50, here I have put it D20. D50 is the mean diameter of the stone used in the crates in centimeter. And S is the specific gravity of the crates, because the total specific gravity, there is the individual stone, the smaller stone used, and it is, with this we find the porosity. Okay? Then, now with these stones, now we come to the volume of a crate. We have arrived at the size of the stone, thickness of the stone, or the two layer. So depending on the size and thickness of the stone, you can arrive at the gabion size. or the sausage type thickness. But what is going to be the volume? The volume is decided by, here the porosity is used, the specific gravity used. Sm is the volume of the stone. Depending on, I don't want to go whether it's a metal or polymer gabion or other thing. You can use this formula and find out the volume. After arriving at the volume, you have to look at the one single crate size. Then you have got dimensions. Generally, manufacturer gives it at 1 meter by 1 meter by 1 meter, 1 meter by 1 meter by 2 meter, like that. The height and width will be, and the length can be go up to 4 meters. I don't know whether nowadays they make up to 6 meters. It's very difficult to handle the more the length. But when you are placing the gabions on an embankment, you should remember the length, the larger one, that is which is 2 meter, 4 meter, 3 meter, that should be along the slope. The width should be across the slope. Okay? Thickness, that's always there. Now, when you are placing it on the embankment, I always said at the starting, we can do the bank protection with a toe. The toe is important. The toe is important, and in the case of river or in the case of sea, it is always subjected to cover protection. When we use a cover protection, we use what we use the gabion material in continuity of the embankment, we use it, and thus we call it an apron. The apron is a continuity of the slope protection, and to what distance and what depth, all these things have to be calculated. For this, we have to go and find out the cover depth. The cover depth, you must have known how to find the cover depth. That's the cover. You calculate it from the maximum water level. You take into account the velocity of that, the width of the river at that particular section, and you use the formula and you calculate the cover depth, which is given from the maximum water level to the bottom. So that is going to affect. So you have to construct the apron to such an extent it prevents the cover. So here, launching apron, which is called, is provided a strong layer. How is it? The thickness of the launching apron. The thumb rule is generally should be 25 to 50% more than the thickness of the what we have used in the slope. Okay, and it has to be in the wedge form. And for special, you have to refer IRC SP 116. Okay, the depth of the cover you have to calculate. As I told you, you can always do that. It's simple engineering. Once you calculate the depth of the cover, I will say Q is the quantity of flow. F is silt factor. Okay, F is the silt factor. Use the formula. You calculate it, depth of cover, and the slope. The slope of the launching apron should be 2 times 1 vertical for the loose boulders or stones and 1.5 wide for concrete blocks or stones in wire crates. So that is gives IRC SP 116. That is it. The size and shape of the launching apron is again given. Like here, what is it? Is like a wedge. The shape of the wedge is 1.5 times D. The average thickness you have to find out. This is at the edge 1.5 times the average thickness. So if you use it, the total cover depth is R plus DS, what you see in the figure. Here the F is the freeboard, that's the slope, 1.5 times DS. So if the slope would have continued in its alignment, but for the horizontal bed, you could have taken a shore like this. So the length of the apron should be at least 1.5 times the DS. That is not exactly the cover depth. The cover depth below the LWL. But generally cover depth is defined as the one about the HFL tail. But for this DS, the DS is from LWL to the bottom of the cover. So what will happen when the work is being done? When a cover takes place, this portion, the apron portion, which is a monolithic with that, it will settle down. It will settle down. As there is a erosion at the bottom of this structure, it will move down. I don't know whether you are able to do. Sometimes something like that. It's like that. Slowly it will go down like that. So sometimes they call it also settled gabions. There have been cases, there have been rivers with a very narrow area which has got, I think your own Namata river. At certain sections, they have got a very steep cover depth as high as 21 meters. I think that's what I say. My memory is correct. That's what we calculated or they found out during the thing for a weir to be constructed or under proposal. They calculated and found the cover depth as 21 meters. Of course, there is a dam. So that is not just a bank protection. The bank protection is also being taken. But what I am saying, cover is a very important factor and it has to be accurately calculated, estimated and provided for in designing the bank protection. Okay? Then, I think we are reaching almost 10 minutes. So let me. Thickness of the laid apron will be 8 tons near the toe and 1.2 tons at the end. Here will be more wedge. For this, we can use the gabions. We can use even geotubes, which we will see later. They are all has to be monolithic. That is very important. Continuity has to be there. And for further detail, you can use even bags continually packed very well. I will show it also some case studies later as we come to that. So the important thing is placing of the launching apron. If you are using bag or cylindrical gabion are used as per the latest provision of IRC SP 113 and IRC SP 116 and IS 16014, which we have referred. So, to sum up, I would like to say there is a simple design methodology for bank protection, the size of the slope, the cover, what is the slope angle, what is this. These are all available, which are more derived and advanced work from the conventional way of coming into geosynthetic material. These informations are available and we should use it as a thick and from case to case. And for your purpose, you can always look into a already executed project and see what is the values of that thing. From that, you can study it as a case study and make your knowledge much more clearer. Okay? Now, in river protection, I will start this. I will not be able to complete it today, but I will start it. As I said, we were so far talking about a sloped embankment or a river bank which is sloping and which has a bottom flat cover. But there are instances like a bridge. You have got a abutment and here you have to provide the wing walls, what they call. Okay. Here the necessity, because of this, we can provide these gabions as a vertical retaining wall also for bank protection and use the geosynthetic material. Here, the principle that is being used is reinforced earth construction for river bank protection. Okay, there will be a gabion, there will be a filter. There, normally in the embankment protection, you will have a filter at the bottom and the armor at the top. But in this case, you will have the gabion, the filter will be behind the gabion. So the material behind the filter will not be washed out, or what you call, if you have already, people have taught you reinforced soil construction, the infill material, the wall fill material will not be washed out, but water will be able to enter and freely go out because of the porosity of the gabion, stones and the filter. Okay? So these kind of structures can be constructed, calculated. This also shows in the case of sudden drawdown cases. You know what is sudden drawdown? There are flash floods which occur in a river. Suddenly the water goes up. So the water enters if you have a protection of the embankment, the water enters the embankment, saturates it fully. Suddenly, after a couple of hours, the water in the river goes down. But the water in the embankment cannot get out so fast as the river. So it has got a high pore pressure built up. If there is no adequate protection of armor and filter there, the whole embankment will collapse under sudden drawdown condition. Okay? To prevent that also, the embankment protection is very much useful. So this is, I said, there's a gabions in place, there is a filter at the bottom and also will be at the back. The boxes will be placed, filled with stones, and then the construction is going on. You could see at the back the geogrid reinforcement. This is at a place called Bellary. I don't know, maybe around 15, 20 years back, and we must have done this work. One of the first kind of the work which you have done. It's about 3 to 4 or 5 meter high, a vertical gabion wall with a filter and reinforcement. The bag is done. This is the dry season, we have done it. So water started flowing in the river. You could see that. So you see, then flooding, more water. So that's it. Because you know the first photograph you said is the riverfront of some other thing. You are just showing a dry food. It is a riverfront. Okay. Similarly, these things can be used on the abutments of bridges. It can be used around the piers to prevent the cover protection also. The same principle horizontally here. The textile, the armor can be used to prevent the cover protection which takes around the bridge piers. Remember that. Then backwater protection, I think it is in Mahi River, 2008. You can see this photograph. What is this? It's a gabion film. You must have seen so many things or videos you can see in the YouTube and other thing. Here I am showing is the continuity. What I said, there's a filter below, there's a back and toe. Both are done simultaneously. It is most essential. That is the concept, and that you have to remember. So, most of the cases, somewhere you may require a toe also before you put the child, depending on that. This toe has to be created. As I said, these gabions, if you have to do a cover, apron, and other things, normally the aprons have to be created underwater and across the river, and depending on, you remember, we said 1.5 ds, correct? If you recall, 1.5 times the depth from low water level to the bottom of the cover. Okay? So that, suppose that is 20 meters. How can you go into the 20 meter into the river and place it? There are various methods. One simple method is, if you have got cranes and with long booms, mechanically you can pick up the gabions. That's one such arrangement. Take it and put it down. It has to be guided by GPS system with the board, with the location, GPS location. It has been done several times. It can be, and an apron can be created underwater. Whereas previously what we used to do, probably they will take the stones or bags in the boat, go to the area and just dump it. When you dump the stone in a flowing current water, it gets carried away. It may not reach the exact destination. Whereas here, because of the mechanical handling, the other facilities, you can place it exactly in position. This is the advantage. Like that, we have got many such advantages. This is Ranbir Mata, Pari Mata at Surat. This I will show you sometime. And here, the only importance is I have used both polymer and metal gabion. Below the MWL, we have used the polymer gabion. so that the corrosion, other effects is reduced. And above the MWs, that is in the bag, we have used this to take care of the rainwater runoff and other things, protect it. We have used the metallic ABM. Yes, Mohan, I am closing it with this. I will continue from this day after tomorrow.